Alright, real quick, time for Rise devlog number 3, I'm pretty sure. So, we're on a beach. That's how stage 1 starts. That's not how it will finish, but that's how it starts. On the first screen, you have 2 Zavuki that you can murder, which is neat. Now, the way the structure of this area is going to work is it'll have 6 screens. It'll have 2 screens on the beach, 2 screens of an inner sewer area, 1 screen of an elevator, and then 1 screen at the top of the lighthouse. So essentially, you're getting on the beach, going through a sewer system, up into the lighthouse, and then you reach the top of it via the elevator. So the sewer is a secret entrance into the lighthouse. That's essentially what this is. As you can see, this screen has sandcastles for some reason. Poorly drawn sandcastles, but sandcastles nonetheless. That big dude there is the berry. Essentially, it's just a stronger Zavuki. That's going to be a theme in Rise 2. It'll overall have more enemies than Rise 1, but a lot of those enemies come from just having, you know, more difficult or tankier or alternate versions of enemies that already exist. So it'll have it'll have more variety than Rise 1, and it'll still have the gimmicky enemies that Rise 1 had. It's just that it'll have these as well on top of that. Instead of that, it'll have it on top of. So it'll have both. Rise 1 didn't really have too many enemies that were just normal enemies. They always had to have weird gimmicky stuff. Like the Skullgrin had to do the weird dash thing. The Mazgul had to jump. The Malice had to do the splitty thing. Really, the only normal enemies in Rise that didn't have some sort of exclusive gimmick of their own were the Zavuki and Corpse. Corpse didn't really do anything special. He was just a different stat version of that. Grunts is theoretically that as well, but he died in 1 hit. Malice would be that if you didn't decapitate the thing and it turned into a sentry. And Zombagale would be that as well if his friggin' axe attack wasn't so slow and was guaranteed to stagger you. Anyway, so Barry's just a stronger version of a Zavuki, really. He has more health, higher knockback resistance, you know. And as you can see, the spin does not knock him back, but the run move does. Now, if we go into the sewer area, which is what this pipe thing leads to, you'll notice it's unfinished, but the screen's way thinner here, which is showing off that Rise 2 areas don't have to be all the same size, which is good, I think. So this room's got 2 berries in it, and you can make short work of them. And then we enter room 4, which is currently my favorite. This is hilarious to me. We have the large Bernard, which is a bear wolf, because Grunter isn't in M2 and neither is Obear or anything, so like, why not put a bear wolf here, just because. So here we have large Bernard. He has literally no moves. You can walk through him and not take any damage, whatever, but you can't move on to the next screen until he dies. Now this room's actually unfinished. The way large Bernard's going to work is he has 150 health, does not attack, he can't damage you in any way, but as you're fighting him, and you have to beat him to go to the next room, enemies are going to spawn from the left side of the screen infinitely. So every like 5 to 10 seconds, another Zavuki will spawn, etc., or in waves. I'm not sure how it's going to work yet. They're just going to spawn. And you have to kill large Bernard, then kill the enemies that spawn. No more spawn after he dies. And you kill all the enemies that spawned, and then you can go through to the thing. Up, we're too high up. We have to go down a bit. There we go. Because that's the 30 thing. This is the bottom Bernard, so you have to be there. But if you're too up, the game registers it as you on a different layer than him. The spin just absolutely decimates Bernard, though. It's the best move to use against him. And here we just have an empty room, which is, this would be the elevator room. But it isn't, because I haven't finished it. I still need to do the background for the sewer parts. I still need to finish coding in the larger Bernard fight thing. He's essentially a mini-boss. He just doesn't have a health bar, and he won't have a mini-boss health bar. And then once I code in the elevator, which is essentially the elevator is essentially functioning how, you know, Rise Endless did, where you kill a wave of enemies and another wave of enemies spawn in the exact same room. That's essentially code-wise how it will function. And that'll happen 3 times in a row, and then you get to the boss of the stage.